Peace and Islam, and we back. I try to make this the last one. But that's the mind. Oh, you know, it could be a lot calling you black and African by screening people who don't never talk about themselves. Right? Pay attention when these people get to talking about Mars or just you in general, your people. They don't ever stop to tell you about their national origin and a little history. You saying they guessing, well, this person, he believes that he's white or black. The person who talking this shit always make sure you get their national origin, their history first before they continue. And you're gonna see that they know nothing about themselves. We're gonna continue. That's what we're talking about on the last video. We're gonna look at this quick 2 minutes. And pay attention to the conversation. We only deal with spirits, which is the words. And we're discussing.
First Timothy 2:9. Do you know your Bible, Mr. White?
Better than I know you.
You don't know me at all. Dr. Valentine Narcisse. And you've met Mrs. Pastor. That is established.
Well, what you doing in the private rooms, Doctor?
What choice am I offered? The Libyan performs in your club. The Libyan serves in your club. But the Libyan may not attend your club.
There no Libyans here.
You yourself are one.
Well, I'm from Texas.
Our roots go deeper than that. Across oceans to the mother continent where all things begin. You nervous, dear?
Just a little.
You needn't be. Mr. White is civilized. I am civilized. We're having a civilized conversation. May I sit?
Who you say?
I only ask.
You only Madden's man.
I am not.
What are you?
I am a man. I have business with Mr. Madden, but I am not his man.
Why you here with her?
Do you mind? It will be unpleasant.
Go ahead.
Because your employee slashed the throat of my employee. Savagely. Quite savagely.
Which employee is that?
Mine was Dickie Pastor. Yours was, forgive me, his name?
He called him Don.
You called him Don. Dickie had a rare eye. He had his flaws, who does not? But a rare eye for talent. I came to rely upon it. Now he's gone. What shall we do, Mr. White? What shall we do?
Okay. We see how sleight of hand trickery work. Nakarsi, the Libyan, you see, at this time in New Jersey, New Jerusalem, you had many nations, and that's why HBO chose that historical section, because it makes a bigger point. You had different nations from all over the world coming in, setting up settlements, all under the auspices of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, for one. The more from overseas, Nakarsi, which sound like he been to accredited by Rome through France, probably a French, probably been to a high college and all that likes. But you see, when they come over here, he been calling all the Moors who were working in the club Libyans, which is another term for African. And try to tell him he African too. And try to get that camaraderie, international camaraderie, but at the same time he was denationalizing us here. Chalky White, all he knows is he from Texas. So he's telling what he know, which would be more true because he coming from his heart and his mind. He know this man, y'all trying to get me. But those sleight of hand things, that's how it work. Even business as usual between Moors, international and over here. We know who we is. They know who they is. We can do business. Like, you know, you come over here, you come to the club, and we can talk it out like men. But you see how they try to throw in the trickery thing. They go give Chalky White and the people in the Moorish American here these bogus histories and stuff, and they argue for vying for power and land. At the end of the show, Nakasi ended up killing Chalky White because he wanted the power and the sway that he had over the Moorish Americans here. Chalky White had his own section. The Italians got their own section. The Libyans, he had a bunch of Moors who been here, but they boy been in a different section. And he had not had his section, but he had want Chalky White's power, because Chalky White couldn't put people in office because he had the most voters, the indigenous people, the Moors who here. He had the most power, so all of them been trying to get down with Chalky White for that reason. Your boy name was Lucky. I think he been either Irish or something like that. That been his nation. All these nations doing for themselves too. He been teaching Chalky White how to use his own political power and help out his own people instead of take other people using their votes for their nations. Then after they done get Nakasi to kill off Chalky White, they killed Nakasi off, and now they got the people. I mean, showing you how that shit work. Nations, and they ain't never changed from back then. It's still like that now. The problem is now you got different nationals lobbying for both against you, and they enforcing them, passing them and enforcing them. Because your lack of representation. You got a phony representation. They represent blacks and African Americans, which is not a nation of people. Chalky White said he's a Texan. He mean he wanted the people of Texas, regardless of how they look. Dealing with nationality and statesmanship and nationhood. You can't get none of that out of college. You can't even get the thought of that thinking in the form of what we thinking. So let's continue. I was just saying that's just a sleight of hand of how these so-called educated, even though they educated in Rome. And Noah Jolly say, go get a good Roman education or European education, and I can use you. That means he ain't throwing out one thing. You can go in those colleges and learn a lot of things. You can learn high-level algebra and a lot of stuff that more should know. But what you using that for? Will that gonna benefit your nation or Rome? That's the question. And these dudes go in these colleges and they come back to the Moors who don't go, like Chalky. They straight natural, still natural in the land, learning from their own elders around them, or wherever they learn themselves. They'll come and try to tell them things. See, try to hear that boy, oh yeah, we Libyans, brother. Even though a lot of that is true, but he ain't explain them to the point where it keep Chalky and his status, his proper status. He tried to drop his status and put him under him as a Libyan, and I the king of the Libyans. And they over here to make sure I got control of this shit for y'all. That's where he coming at. The Western Libyans, the ancient Western Libyans, are the ancient Americans. So he could explain that shit really like that, and they would really get together and both some shit. But what happened in the end? He killed off Chalky, and the Italians killed him off. So now the people ain't got no head. They just run around like they was the day, letting everybody lobby for them. Supposed to be the Black Caucus members, but them people like celebrities. You see them on TV. All kind of shit going on around us, and you don't see them people come out speaking nothing like that. I ain't never seen one of them boys get out and make a speech about the State of the Union in Chicago alone. That's something need to be talked about. Plenty parents out there trying to get the people. They got organizations and shit. They creating parents, but your politicians, they ain't want to deal with the truth and that reality right there. But I see in China they got the story of Noah. I should have had a better one. Talk about Noah, and you see him dressed in the Moorish culture, robe, fez, customs, and culture. I can talk to them about history. Some more Moorish customs. You see Hathor. In Asia. Only when you black that they can play you. She could beat you up in the store. I telling you, people look at customs, honoring your foremothers and forefathers as a real thing. People cut your head, people cut their own daughters and shit head off. They just go mix with other nations or something. Do stuff that you wouldn't believe, and they'll just disown them. Cause that shit, like, it hurtful. It really hurt them boy when people go against their own ancestors and shit. And the sense of embarrassment. Nobles used to, at war, try to use the embarrassment tactic. Now you ain't nothing that embarrass you because you do everything long as they pay you enough. That's the sad part about it. But then you getting out your own custom, you ask for the slave pen. And you get out your own customs. Got them same rituals in Asia and China. Anyway, showing these, he be rocking these shit. And shit, that right there, that Almazir, right? They gonna see what that is really. But this way is insane. $10 with the fine. I used to say, why the fuck people putting their name on information that is just out here? It's so much that why even do that? Like, spread that shit, ain't nothing but knowledge. Eat clams. But it crazy with the fine. That's a hell of a fine. And you know, I be looking at stuff like this all the time. And sometimes you'll click, you see I have my own ones. I don't got no names on my shit. I don't give a fuck about that. But looking at these shit gonna speak to you. And he probably been looking at us and say, oh yeah, that lady off the show. That's what that is. So you got the Gali tribe, which is, I could have just showed you a picture. I could go outside right now and take a picture of them more real quick, and that's still involved the Galilee tribe. But you know, you gotta see the outward show. Yeah, that's how the Rome got us thinking. Gotta look the part, right? But again, these be the same people who will call all the other people who look like them around y'all black and shit. Like, my man, How the hell you the only Indian? Where the fuck that come from? Cause you look like one mother. So that again, that's why we just we Moors. Wherever we at on Earth, that's what we is. And ain't nobody else who on them lands can be able to go in their library and find Moors. Ain't matter where they at on this planet, they'll be able to find that information in their own library. So ain't no playing with me. Know your history. The Galale, which again I just think means Galilee, and a far western dialect, because these things worldwide. You got Egyptians, you got Israelites, you got Moors, you got Arabs from Arabia, you got Syrians. All these things ain't just those places that they call those places today. People draw a map and they using old, ancient, and modern terms to name places based off where they think they live at. But when you see these, all you gotta do is follow what the Phoenicians did, because that's who said all that shit up. They set that shit up on parallel line. We'll talk about some more of that today too. And grid lines going in all kind of directions, because it's been going on from different generations. Got this group, this generation doing them this way based off how he oriented the map at this time. So he mapped out a line going straight across. And then when you go to Gali on the map and South America, you go there. The first picture pop up. I don't know if it's Lascano or just, and look at the other words that got Gale in it as a suffix in different words like Galileo. So I'm telling you that my whole life they've been teaching us about this. This is one of the things that they'll teach you. You'll learn about Galagichi culture as a child here, where I at. And it always about Angola and Africa. Why skip all that shit right here and go straight over there? That's how I know. I ain't listen to nothing these people say no more. If I think I know, I'm gonna check anyway again, cause I know somebody teach me that. Some idiot teach me something that I ain't look, and I just believe that shit. And they just be taking the shit from me. Let me see this one. Yeah, one of these ones that when I go in and search for, it might have been Google. This picture right here, that's a so-called museum, or like a farm where they got camel, but look, they got in the background statue. Ecuador. Then again, is what you showing you the old way. This picture pop up. She's a Gali in Ecuador. Married to Manuel Inocencio Perales and Gali Cachique. The real content, the first content of Congress, when the Cachiques who still been the kings of Guinea in the title of the king of Morocco. And they already been a ragtag group of kings late in the, trying to get to the 1800s, even already not Europeans. And so much different sways that we hate where we at today with it. And then the last of the Mohicans, for real, the Continental Congress, up and down the continent, these people, I find in these stories and overseas, the same peoples. But you gotta look for them in the Spanish type name, quote unquote, because that's just Moorish. Ain't no goddamn 700 years. Ain't no couple years gonna beat out 700 years of custom. Now he's Spanish, huh? All of a sudden in 1508. And for 700 years they've been called Moorish, right? Ain't nothing changed. They changed what they call it shit. That's why it's Moorish America, because everything people gonna call Spanish, they gonna say that's Spanish influence. City of Garley, down there. Spanish culture, right? Andalus. And a lot of South Carolina shit, and they talk about the bread, sweet bread making. But they give them the same history they give us. They tell them that, oh yeah, they come from Africa, but brother, be proud. That's what the black Romans would say. That's what them boys who will come post on your shit, they gonna comment something like that. They gonna say, stop, be proud of your ancestor greatness, and stop appropriating other people's ancestors. Right? That's what they gonna say. If you say you, us, the American, ancient and modern, something like that. Straight denationalizing every person who look like this. It's a sad thing if you think about it, because they don't really know. Did he gonna study this little girl history? He could be wrong, right? But then thinking about that, they trying to guilt you. It's a sad thing. Guayaquil right there. A lot of history dealing with Carthage and Rome and Libya, because this is one of the places where the mercury shells flourish and wealthy. That's why the boy had them gold on that painting. That's the area they been from, Quito. The Dons and his sons. And the gold mines over here could steal the oro. And they call this shit, and the ship called New Andalusia. New Kingdom of Granada. A New Andalusia on the other side. And they got stuff like this that they don't talk about. Remember, we see all the pirating going on over here, right? So that's been going on, and a lot of people getting captured and take to one place to the next real quick on ships. Cause sailing been a thing. There been a lot of ships going around locally, most locally, been fishermen and sailors like crazy. Same way we quarterbacks and wide receivers and shit. We've been even a common thing. So like the 18th to the railroad era and the roads and the dams, the New Deal, the reconstruction of rivers, all those crimes. The companies, these United States companies that they be trying to act like they ain't jumping in the game. So you see, capture out Moors. Yeah, this thing all out of whack, but if you see Utina is like saying Utica, and Galilee is like saying Galilee. If you find in these Hebrew languages, it will make sense that you got an ancient empire that spreads far with slight differences. And look at that, the pottery and shit, showing the animals with the animals. Maya Imi. And again, Tuscaloosa. Moorish Latin. Yeah. And that's what happened to them. I thought I would have had the whole thing when they had his name down. They get captured by a Colonel Reed, but they call him a Maroon. But the story got him as a Seminole because that's the same word. Seminole and Seminole was the same word, just in a different language. Like again, dialects. So, wars between Moors and Christians in this late in up here. When they call them Seminole, that means they just ain't down with what Rome got going on. They in their own little country, wherever they at. And I should have his name, so we could go and look up a quick story. That's what they call it, Summerons. And that's propaganda. They spreading the same propaganda like they do now, to make sure they got enough Romans to back them if they go do this to them. And enough Moors who captivated to make sure they don't help neither, or they help capture this motherfucker too. Because he messing up the country, quote unquote. He's a domestic terrorist, right? All those things will get put in the psyche of the masses, because they need the masses. You're going to need the multitude. That's what you're all about. Because the mob gets you. It ain't matter if you got a crown on or not. Ask France. The mob coming with a guillotine. So they always about propaganda. So they were doing this to them in books, passing them out in the churches, you know, the Moors and Indians, schools and stuff like that. Inhabitants of the Rio Grande, Carrizos. More terms. Terms not used. North American Indians. The same albums there. So this tribe been up and down the continent. Like I said, this is not about the ancient Canaanites in the West, right there. All these different customs. And they always show this one lady right here for the North American, New York. But you see Moorish people. At least that's what my eyes seen. They chilling right there. They going to the cloud later. Eat mackin'. Ancient rules, we're gonna see a depiction of what they perceive Canaanites and Phoenicians and Carthaginians and Libyans in a minute. And Egyptians. You see that little shit right there? Pay attention to that. That's supposed to be you know, already American, we know that. Coyote. Netzahal and the Coyote. And definitely some old ancient Punic shit. I can see that in that. In the Pueblo, you see, dealing with those setups that Spain take over eventually. They call it Pueblo. This more had a different term for this, for her section. But we used to use governmental terms for a section, not really a place name. Our government names. Look at this sun coat look like. You can see that on the chest. He got that same little charm because you know the Moors used to wear that big ass circle disc. And that also a sign of the ancient Phoenicians or Canaanites. They had that on. So we see that on these all over. Like this sun coat. that cut in that wall is for astrological alignments to watch stars and shit. Cause it ain't just a window. Women in these temples doing all that science for real. Man. Red Cape Gang and everything. The sun. I got the sun in the chest. Same thing I did there. They been drawing people from the New Kingdom of Granada, Colombia, Cartagena de Indias, and so-called Spain. And that's how you depict them. But Jews all over that boy face. Man, probably had a bunch of earrings and shit. You see people do that now. Well, getting surgically Jews in their face. Moors doing that still. They come right from down there and end up up here, and vice versa. I'll take that down there. Some of their people. Let me see a synopsis. That's how Rome speak. We see him with the snake. We see him got the globe. Ain't been no goddamn falling off the edge of no earth that's been made up. They always had globes and pictures. Rome. They know what's up. And you see Christendom over the whole world, all the nations, always represented by a woman. As you can tell, they eliminating the earth like how we used to through sections. You can see America, Africa, Asia, and Europe. All under Moorish customs. But under Roman rule, they gotta save the Moorish pagans from themselves. Not a depiction. Their God over the world. All under Moorish customs, right? Even Egypt and Europe, they definitely got control of Europe on this one. Got the Pope sitting and the Pope, that's a feminine word, Papa, is sitting in the feminine house in Latin. So they might have steal that title from their own woman for all we know. It might have been feminine at first. Because all about women in the nation. She birthed nations, so she's an allegorical, metaphysical representation. And you see American and African talking. That's what we trying to tell them too. Like, well, man, why? If you fall in love with the term Africa, I can show you that the term America denoted a person who looked like you today, at that time. Ain't been so late that other people with that term mentally in the mind of the masses been kind of into, got different meanings and understandings. But even that, people of the world still know the difference between an American and an African more. They know how they know because they see Jay-Z on TV. If we go to other places, they gonna ask us if we American. If we go to Africa, we gonna always be, you could be called the American by Africans. You got a name. So if Africa is the term that you're saying, okay, that means dark-skinned people. I gotta embrace that because that means me. And America do too, not just in your modern sense. It includes others, but historically, you just ain't been going to look at your history. You've been letting out people tell you your shit. Afrocentric scholars from the 80s, and I used to go to lectures and shit. And I can remember a lot of the shit been propaganda. I can tell you that now. And then when you tell them to go ahead and slide, then go ahead over there first. then they gonna try to guilt you, say you disrespectful to the ancestors, brother. But that's only in their mind that they feel that, and that's their understanding of history. In their mind, they think that's everybody else one too. That's erroneous to even think that way. You only can show, and the people who see the same way, then you can connect. And that's what they did to you. They showed you for 12 years history, social studies, the study of societies. So don't get mad. I tell you too now. I feel like telling you better than them, more honorable than them. So you already know Juan right here. You probably ain't see Juan no more. This Juan will go show them where all the gold and shit at. Let me show you what other towns at, my guy. Stuff like that already happening over here. In all these malls. So asking of a more brain Columbus over here is showing the ignorance of that person who asked you that, telling you. Because they think that one dark-skinned person been around, and a lot of so-called Europeans been around, coming over here, and they over here, they ain't know nothing about the rest of the world, and some new alien shit that them coming to attack them. And that dude for the one black dude for who on the ship. That's how they think of that shit. And they try to blame you genetically because you call yourself a Moor. And you know that's Spain, right? So they put in all the low reconstructed BS that's being taught about them into one, using that and try to think of this shit. But at the same time, they know goddamn well these same people who they learn that from, learn about Moors from, ain't telling the truth about so-called black Indians neither. When they teach us about Indians, ain't none of you black people. You from Africa. You tripping if you claiming to be from America. So you using the same people to talk about, to try to think about this shit, to learn about Moors, right? You learn about that word for the first time. And you going straight to Google and go straight to the people who you know damn well lying about you. Here, being from here, right? How that work? Common sense thing would be to go to the people who call themselves that, who look like you. Because you know they from here. If you realize that, hold up, oh, a lot of niggas from here. I seen the Indians and they dark skin, like I showed you these niggas right here. These gotta be white people, so-called crackers. These gotta be niggas, right? They talking to the people how we talk, right? If we using common sense things. So you find out, oh, okay, I Indian. So, oh, you got these people over here who say, oh no, we Moors, my guy. It'll make sense to go talk to them. Go look into the Spain shit and the Colombian shit, like, oh, okay, that's how this connect with that. All these people more, and they already on ships, ain't know how to sail. The person who been on the ship with Columbus, if we're gonna say the Nino brother, they lied about his history. He most likely been from here, so he is the native indigenous American that you call yourself. So he always gonna point back to you. I always say don't ever worry about that type of things. Those one events. Who doing why? Just tell the truth. Let me see. Early America, we got Moors. And these certain customs that people still do today. I think this in Mexico. And they clearly look like Moorish peoples to me. Like my mother and father. In depiction. And you can see the customs, the shawl, and a little thing around her neck. You can see a lot of that in a minute. Cordoba. Man got his Cordoba too. When he put the Cordoba and the jacket on, people gonna see that picture now. He gotta be a European more, you see? How they be getting you with them bullshit like that. Not as real. The only thing is we know we got a pound of evidence of our presence by this motherfucker. All these paintings can't be from somewhere else. And erroneous, right? In this depiction. But again, Rome go paint a lot of this shit history. They got a lot of shit on walls. And the red, white, and blue too. Then I take your red, white, and blue, and you only know red, green, and yellow, and black. You got a big ass turban on with jewels, eating grapes in their little backyard park. No balls. And that's whoever talking about, whoever saying probably who that painting probably is. But they don't know. They call that painting African. On their website, on the museum website where they holding that painting at, they call him African. But I say no, this is probably Hualpa, your boy brother. And this depiction of him made me even believe that even more, right? He the one who so-called discovers the mind. You know, he having his mind. He's take from that boy. This painting right here. Because of that crown, you got Montezuma, you got the people of the same line with that same crown, that same little bandana hanging down. So they say, hold up, that must be the brother with them boy Jip. And they ain't had no more other paintings of him depicted straight Moorish dark skin. Like this right here. They ain't even that deep with it. And the other paintings I've walked by on the internet, it look like the modern day people who live in the area of Peru and all that today. So of course he ain't gonna look like this, like what they captioned us as an African. On their website in modern times, this painting gonna be lost in history, and this can be one of the kings of Peru. And I still saying could be when I should be saying this with fuck them. They made clear they don't say could be at nothing. They ain't honorable. There's another depiction of her that I find that made me say, hold up, this one made more accurate compared to these other ones. Modern ass shit that they did in 1973. And they all over the internet. Only one Montezuma one is the Montezuma one who complexion look like this. Is the one that they don't ever want to use in the articles. And that one not get spread all the way around. With the city in the background and everything. Not Montezuma, Atabila. That's his brother. Huelpa and Atabila. Both of them boys. Look like I screwed out on the older pictures. So the newer pictures gonna come around and now they're gonna take precedence over the older ones. That don't make no sense. More ruins. Summer ruins. Basically malls being called summer ruins by Christians. Going back to the times of Carlos V. Even the first one used it. He ain't even that old. He been at war with certain malls and called them summer ruins. Ones who don't want to be down with him. Guyana in America again. We lucky people been capturing these type of things, because I swear everybody in these times, that's in Africa. You can go down there today and find people still dressed in their ways. Same Almazeres that we were seeing on in North America, who just got jeans on now. Different malls already been in different ways, so especially in the north because it's colder in the fucking north. When it was in the northeast, you calling them Europeans and shit. They speaking English and we lack understanding of what we're really saying, being done and saying. Another group. So you see the same Almazeres, and they just the soldiers. You got the government and more dressed like they're modern a little bit. You see that same sign that's on the chest. Got the British Jack, like a lot of Moors had. Cause they deal with treaty, the red flag, the Moor flag, with the British Jack was the treaty that they needed, and we all needed to do business, merchants, nations, laws of nations, jurisdictions. And they also got the shotguns too, man. That's one of the things that been always an issue, and that's why we make it clear the right to bear arms and don't even infringe on that ever between the nations here. Because that's been one of the things that, yeah, other nations will come, but it only about business. Ain't no coming adding your customs and your religions and our psyche and captivating the people, telling these people what to do. But they gotta be in order. They gotta know these things about nationality and nationhood and all that. But that's one of the things that make sure you don't know. You know, he kind of either do business or fly a kite, go ahead duck. So you see more of the same culture. Even so much commerce and stuff going on, but they on the seas. That when they build a home, all the Moors who had products to sell, to bring the products out to the coastline, until they start getting into the interior and bothering people. Now everything getting messed up. But real trade have to go on. Let me see. All kind of stuff drawn in Rome that I guess they forget to show us in history class. Why it exists. Now we see again, we can look in traditions like rituals like parades, carnivals, festivals, observations, holidays, and you can see all the history. Big ass crowns like that. And it's definitely American thing. We see a picture of us and we say, oh, okay, Trinidad. Trinidad, yeah, that's what that is. Well, how you learn that? Where they get that from? They come from Africa too? Got the spear and everything, right? The only thing else they ain't telling you that it's just coming from the far west part of Africa. You ain't about to G me. You ain't about to G me, I can tell you. These things get passed down people's family. They just do them every year. The children do them, and then the children grow up and do them. People add stories to these things, writing articles on the internet and shit like they know what's up. But the people who participate, they do this shit from child on out. They don't even know how far it go back, or even if the story's not turning myths, because people write about it and shit. It's just a party now. But they can't. But they should never let nobody change the shit. Keep doing the shit. Show a timeline. So right here they showing Africa and America again, allegorical, using a woman. They're using animals, so they're using the lion, the Sierra Leone, and they're using the gator for Florida. Florida just meaning the south, east and west Florida, stretch all the way to Texas at that time. And more still here today in the south, right? I had to take pictures like this, right? This colony so south with them. But customs, some people keep customs, some people change customs. Everybody got these festivals, they just slightly different. You gotta pay close attention to the details. That's one place they ain't gonna go tell them people. They ain't never going out there to tell them people of Magnolia that they ain't from here. They look at them like they crazy. I ain't problem. Like, really, Egyptian crying got the snake, Egypt. So people be tripping when people be like, yeah, we Washington, we the ancient ones here. And people know who they are. Who anybody else will tell them they know who they are. Go down there and tell them that. And this is an Egyptian crown, we in America. Show you the ancient empire of Egypt, know what y'all been tell us that. Again, another blowing a horn. Come get these products. Let me see. Shields and shit. Dealing with the empire and dealing with Europe and commerce. You here today like crazy, and you doing, and you in every position that makes civilization go. Even like that back then, they just telling you different things. So these some more depictions of how they draw, and I think this one they say Africa, but that's what they've been calling here. But you can tell this Spain drawing people of tierra firme in their mind. And they know Moors always had them earrings, boy, especially round earrings. Call that pirate earrings and shit. If you get a pirate costume, you would get that. You would get you a parrot, right? You would get a parrot. And remember that sun thing that my man had, that king. So he got that same thing, he's showing you that too. Different perspective from different groups and different time periods, and you still connect them shit. That's when you can start getting the truth out of that shit. And they ain't had no, and they know exactly how the people had look by complexion if we want to go there. We see plenty of pictures, and they got these right here. We see these made, and we see these on the walls of Egypt too. They got these feather capes, like that's a cape. And we see this in the painting of they call them the Carthaginians. That's where they get the name Cartagena de Indias from, because they would call them Carthaginians at that time. And they say that people moved after the French attacked them, and they call the other place New Carthage, so that means that been them calling that shit there. They ain't even been in Spain, they just find Carthage in the West and reconstruct the history to their liking. Right here, Cartagena de Indias. We got the Carthage of the Indies. And you got plenty of Carthages going all the way down. These are the same people, just in a different time period. But again, Rome here and Carthage here, and we put the battle of the Second Punic War in this area right here up here, which would make sense. You got Cartagena on the coast. These are port clearly set up by these ancient Carthaginians as they did on the other side. It should look like it's a masterful port set up. Senegal. And that's why we're talking about with the adobe style building houses. You see that in Zuni, New Mexico. And we see right there in the front gate. It looks just like how What you talking about? Let me see. Your boy won, man. They just be tripping. They tripping over that. Yeah, it's just like your boy won back there. Slightly different on that side. About to do that already showing like that's the same structures, man. Tripping and us a little bit. Adobe style. Those things last longer too, like shit, older cities. And those disasters destroyed. Yeah, they still got the little stick things pointing at them and everything. That front gate looking like them boy front gate too. That's the extent of these people, I'm telling you. You already know the Zuni tribe with the dark-skinned ones. I didn't talk about that. Go look them up, the Zunis. So you got videos on YouTube of people always want to talk about you. There's probably some European talking about all the. He probably coming in the 1800s. He didn't even know how long he get to Brazil. But he probably coming in, he know that's a land of Moors and all these dark-skinned people here. So he gonna jump on the African story. So they write about these things. These Europeans who in Brazil and Guatemala and all these places who just get the they say we now know that about 10 million Africans. See, so they put the number very high because what they seeing today. They playing all them people, try to play all them boys. I mean, the oldest legends that they got in the history of Brazil, the government ain't got nothing old. The government, if you go check the official records of the history of Brazil, the oldest record got mythic stories about short black people in the woods and shit. So you ain't never not in the story. The indigenous tribes and shit story talking about dark-skinned people and they gods and shit. But people come do this, make videos. But the picture he had, the picture that I want, that's the original version of the picture. Yeah, a lot of pictures remade of this. But this one you can tell by the painting style. Just that Brazilian painting style. The way they were painting at that time. The people who they commissioned to paint these, so it's great good depictions. And there been other paintings that had the same style, but it looked like somebody sitting in a palace in Morocco, dressed like a Moor and everything. But I telling you, that's in Brazil. They got that same style of painting. He's sitting in right now, them places that where he probably would take that painting in, or that picture, because these be pictures drawn. They'll take a picture and they'll draw it a lot of times. These late 1700s, early 1800s. Mid 1800s look like mid 1800s, something like that. But they would, that painting, he'll be sitting right now a place they'll call it a Moroccan or Arabian or Egyptian smoke shop or something like that. You go inside, it look like you walk inside a palace in Morocco. And a lot of those places all over, even North America, everywhere they turn them shit to smoke shops and theaters and all type of different shit. But they probably take a picture of them in one of those shit at that time. See how they write James Douglas of African descent. So he's just dark skinned, so they're just gonna write that African descent. Say on the day the new colony of British Columbia was. That's just like how we would say you would call them Europeans, Euro Americans. Anyway, what you call me that for? We call me Afro American for then, nigga. Let's not play that game. You ain't gonna be who you want to be, then try to tell me who. Try to make me on something that I ain't never tell you they call me that. That's the James Douglas of Moore, who on the day the new colony of British Columbia, so-called Canada, so you see Moors already got a hand in that, was established, being sworn in as its first governor. So they can't act like they don't know about Moors. You wouldn't even have a British Columbia. Man, showing them how to set up the settlements and shit, because Moors always learned how to do that since the times of the Phoenicians. But we're the same Carthaginians set up those Carthages on the ports, on the coast. Certain sciences to that, certain sciences to governing. And how come these people know about them? They're supposed to be slaves. They know how to govern though themselves. Even if they summer in the forest, they still free and they still governing themselves. They ain't worrying about that y'all. And these other people commercialized. Now check this out. We're gonna talk about why we all over the place as Moorish Americans, but I think we all got the same results on the DNA test. But we already spread out amongst the world as who we is haters. They're haters. Pineapple field hands. Hawaiian Islands. So in the Hawaiian Islands in 1880 something around that time, this enlargement from a stereograph shows African American workers during the short-lived practice of recruiting men from the southern states. So you're saying Georgia, Mississippi, South Carolina, and you know how this be happening? Cause man, he's the most American too probably. But that's why I know what y'all tell us to be careful, cause most can put you back in slavery now if you let it. Man had the fields. He big business out here. He said, "All right, I know I can get some people to work this motherfucker. I got some more." But how he commented to them, "Hey brothers, I'm about to go take you to your motherland, back to Africa. You know, we gonna get that knowledge. We gonna get that about the ancestors and everything. His ass ain't up in Hawaii pineapple fields, getting little pay or no pay, getting the gospel." Now what ain't up to, that's what ain't out happened to these people. Got a lot of stories like that. Pineapple field hands. Ain't up on a plantation in Hawaii. So what they did, they offered him like, we got a great job, and the mama like, hey, go get that job, boy. What happened? How that happened? You know, they ain't telling us a lot of things right there, but Sammy in that video we see with a little girl with me, man. You know, he in his suit. You know, he's supposed to be the smart one. He got your English app. And you know the girl, she light skinned, but you know, we all know that's a Moorish American. He know that. So he called her African. He said, yeah, you and us. My man, he come in the people's house and try to tell him that. That's where he started. That term, that's a spell. They're using that as a spell. Now here again, earliest known photograph of African Americans in Nebraska. Looking like they already been there. Got their horse and carriages and shit. $1865. But of course they already been there all over this place. They're all over the place like they is today. The places that we don't see a lot of us, then we most likely ain't never care about the place. We only have focus on places where it been near certain channels and waters. We set up villages specifically in certain places. So if we're there today in places that ain't right, we probably migrate there and set up stuff there later. But we in certain places for a reason. We always had these little communities. And again, we showing you Allende or Allende or Olinda, some of the first places that these so-called colonists and Europeans hit. Olinda. Which would be a term that we should be knowing about before we even learn about the term Africa. For reasons that we're going to do a lot. Looking at the Garden of the Ballistas, they even use the word garden. Garden of Eden. You see that picture right there? You think they're in the streets of Portugal. (1487). Going somewhere in the Lende. We can't make out where. That city is just a name that represent this term. This term at this time meant any place over here because it unknown to the people who writing these in the 1400s. These Castilians and these Portuguese. Because the earlier ones been Andalusians and they were Moors and they already been over there. But we're talking about the same people who claiming and shit, Spain, Portugal, those people, that's their beginnings. And we can go and see that the beginnings that they push the date back and create a story behind it. In 1487, Abu Baya Alfagame, he's safe to move to Allende in Africa. In 1480, Barberia de Allende, so they call it Barberia also, with cotton and other things. So now they getting stuff. Basically, it's one of the first we can call trade with Castile that later became Spain. You see the same things, the delineation of the earth. And that's why it's really showing you that Africa meant both sides. And America, North America been depicting this as America, right? Let me see. America, yeah, America, Asia, Africa, and Europe. But Africa to them is America, what dark-skinned people about. That's what that means to them. All of America and what we call Africa and Asia. As long as these people in it, that's America. I mean, that's Africa. And they've been denoting Asapea as copper-colored natives because of our own racism against our own people. You know, with the blue vein societies and the mulattoes and the trying to separate ourselves using complexion. So Raw even take that into account in this pen. But again, that's an illusion. That's also America, parts of it. Wherever more is at. Like that's they showing you East Indies, West Indies. You put on the same parallel. They've been all out Hind. They just split up East and West, and India on the map. They've been in the middle of just like gotta find that map. Cause I keep saying that, but I'm gonna find a map. That's why all they were doing, taking on oil maps and even breaking it up. Ghana, all over. And again, he bans the word Negro and Oriental to be used. And governmental, well, federal law, so that means anything dealing with government federally. They can't use the term Negro or Oriental, but just the retardation and the dumb down of the nation in 2016. What's the point of the government still breaking that law? Or if they ban us, then they break that saying, they breaking the law if they use that. Why he get on TV and use that terminology, right? So either they think we stupid, or they testing to see how if we smart or not. Let's check it out. That's all it take. They won't redefine him now. I ain't asked for that. I asked for your opinion about the term. You see 1442? They want to use that date because of a story, and they try to find a sea route to India, so they sneakily trying to tell you that's an American event that they ain't telling nobody. So they giving a lot of opinions about the term. Okay, that's what a word mean. It don't even mean that. It just, let me see. Let me go to a word dictionary. Wikipedia gonna give you all the opinions. Uncapitalized. The word borrowed from Spanish and Portuguese, Negro, black. That's it. That's all it means. So if you ban Negro, you ban black. In any other language, the law gonna work for that. If I enforce that against them and say, hold up, you ban black, and they say no, they didn't, they ban Negro. Specifically, I can present my case right here. Just show this one definition. Okay, now I won that case. It'll be common sense, we adults and not children playing games. It don't matter what you change the language to. It still mean the same thing, just in a different tongue. Like thousands of ways to say the sky is blue. For people who looking up to the sky, it could be in different tongues, but that statement could be true for them. For that situation, no matter which way they say the sky is blue, let's start playing these games. And to make it matters even worse, the NIGGER version is just a late Latin English version of the term that just means black, and been written like that, and it had nothing to do with you at a point. A lot of these things just illusions. So you see that down here is illusions. It's dated and offensive, so that means black is offensive, and then they use the term black in that just to even stick it to you even more. And using ignorance, that's ignorant to even do that. Because if it's dated and offensive, just because you translate it to English doesn't take the offensiveness out of it. Why been offensive? Because he been in Spanish, that's all? Okay, now English. Okay, I hear trash can. I ain't a trash can in Spanish. Don't call me that in Spanish. Okay, you change it to English, trash can. Okay, now I ain't a trash can. Happy one and proud. What kind of sense that make, right? Why did they disavow it? That's what they hiding from you. Why did we disavow the term Negro and Neger? Because we spoke Latin. We know that means black in Latin and Spanish. English been the last language that we had to learn. So we still retarded in that. But we had no not to call us a Negro. Even today, these people still do that subconsciously. When they get angry at each other, oh, that Negro, he a Negro now. But when they down, oh, what's up? What's up, black? Black man. You just call him a Negro. And so you mad, you switch to Spanish. So excuse your Spanish. The confusion. And then you tell children to pay attention in class and don't act up. But when they go read what these things teaching them, you giving them contradictions in real life. You ain't pay attention in it. That's what that child used to say. You must be pay attention. An Easterner, Oriental, Cherokee. That's another word that foot under that. A lot of those other terms that they got stole on the day, Native American. All those terms is banned under that. Oriental. Literally saying if you ain't got your own nationality and you and your people, then ain't no rights can be respected from you. That's what he basically put that in there. So you see, names of government, the place near report, but you got these all over because that's what we would call it a mixum, al-Maxin. The official resident of the King of Morocco. A commune of Rabat, and communes is another, like we got community now, you see, same type of things that they learn and shit from. The national capital, the nation's capital. It's like the White House, representation of the nation's capital. We call it Dar al-Maxine. And stuff like this store around. It's the American version. Al-Mazigan. And that's where they got depictions of Phoenicians. And I definitely ain't gonna get through this in this one video, but we keep going. Egyptians, what they call Semites, we call Hebrews, Libyans. Like we see all these same dress and ways and all these paintings that we looking through and these things. The headdress too also. See the headbands and that right there, crown like that. And she got the noble Albert's hair hanging down. And you see we definitely had our all whites. That we still have today, our all white parties. Shit. Ancient Moroccan. That means light personified, enlightened ones, ancient ones. The government, the most, the ones up high, you see they up high on the mountains. They look like Peru too. And the city's just in the mountains and shit. You see, Morocco just means the land of Moors. That's another, it's the long way to say Morocco in your English tongue. You see, we would call our black people, right? A whole gang of them who got their own things and don't need your help, your inputs. And ain't your blacks. So we're gonna start right here, showing you again the Almazirs. Very similar to each other on both sides of the Atlantic. Got designs on there just like this. Adam's there. That's what we find in the tariffs, and it started to be sold all over the world. We see it here too. Same all white robes, and he's saying big hats like we see our grandmama that we men go to church on Sunday. You see all white robes. Don't let them fool you. When they ain't got their robe on, they say, oh, that's an Indian. But when they put that robe on it and zip up, put the hoodie on, now he's a Moroccan. Now, so, you see? All illusions. He's all in the blood. Genetically, that's the empire of the Moorish peoples who call themselves the black people and this and that, and the Afro-Panamanians and all this shit. So we're gonna stop right there and continue the next one. Peace.